dog training is art.
Ooh.
And it is art. And there's so many different artists out there, and it is beautiful in so many different ways, and the result is different all the time.
Totally.
But it's really like you need to have an open mind. You need to be more freeing about it, and it's really amazing the things that you can create.
Hi, my name is Matthew. I'm owner and trainer of Pet to Pal Dog Training, and this is the Pet to Pal podcast. Today, my guest is Hope Verra of Hopeverra's Dog Training. Hope, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Likewise. I know we've chatted a little bit, but we haven't officially met, so it's cool to finally meet and talk dogs a little bit with you.
Seriously, we've been messaging on Instagram for a little while. We've shared some clients. I've been following you for some time, so I feel like I know you without actually knowing you.
Same. Yeah. It's a very small community, so it's nice to put a face to the Instagram. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of your history, where your love for animals kind of first started?
I have had literally my first word that I ever said was dog.
Literally.
I have been obsessed with dogs since before I could ever remember. It's been ingrained into me. I was born into it. I got my first dog after bribing my parents for a dog, of course, as a kid does. And
you got to do what you got to do. Yeah.
The dog that my parents picked as their family pet happened to be an Australian cattle dog that they bought from a farmer. Okay. And you know how that goes. Yeah,
high drive, a lot of energy, a lot of work.
And with the chaos of a family and not one single leader, everyone telling him what to do, it was a chaotic mess. This dog had all the issues that everyone could possibly get. And so it was the best learning opportunity I could have ever had.
That's awesome.
What really pushed me and what this dog taught is that he was so smart. I taught him how to do dog agility.
Nice.
He knew every trick in the world. He was amazing in that way, and he was my best friend. But if I ever wanted to get him into dog agility professionally, he was reactive towards dogs. He had bite history. If strangers came up to him and touched him and reached for him, he would snap. And so I realized it's not about how smart the dog is. It's about getting them into the calm state of mind and being a leader and making them feel safe. And it really held us back in our life, and it limited us in how we could bring our dog everywhere with us, to family events, all of that kind of thing. And I became so passionate about what can I do for my dog to give him a better life. Even though he's so smart, that's not it. How do I work through this? And that's what gave me the push.
That's awesome. And I think, they say just even in general with inventions, like most inventions are bred from necessity, right? And I think a lot of trainers kind of get into training because they are having those issues with their dog, and they figure out how to help, how to work through it and how to help themselves and their family. And like, hey, I can do this and help other people too. Yeah. Right. So I think, a lot of trainer journeys are probably similar, where it's bred from necessity and you kind of having to do it for yourself and then thinking, hey, I can do this for others as well.
Yeah.
What dog do you have now? I know you mentioned you have a dog now, a service dog.
I am passionate about dog rescue. He's a little street dog from St. Martin.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
A pot cake?
Yeah, we call it a pot cake. I call him a coconut retriever.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah. He's like the perfect size, 50 pounds. I can pick him up and carry him if I ever needed to. He can sit on my lap, cuddle on the couch, but he's enough that he can play with the big dogs.
That happy middle ground.
I love him. Yeah, I love him.
That's awesome. And why don't you talk a little bit about, so for anyone that doesn't know, you do have a rescue, Hope's Haven, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk a little bit of kind of, how you got into that and give us a little.
I would love to. I'm so passionate. I feel as though this is where I'm leaning so much of my energy towards. It's new. We've only opened it about 3 months ago.
Congrats.
We've already rescued over 25 dogs.
Wow.
And it's been a whirlwind. It has absorbed me,
I bet.
I would say. But it's called Hope's Haven Dog Rescue. This all got started because as a dog trainer, some dog rescues leaned on me and asked me to help them out with some of their unadoptable dogs.
Sure.
And I realized that the amount of dogs out there that get turned away by rescues and shelters because it's not their fault. They're foster-based rescues, a lot of them in Toronto. Fosters can't handle these dogs. If they have bite history, if they are aggressive, if they're reactive, I know deep down that the root of these dogs' issues is just insecurity.
Yeah.
Or being a dog and having those natural reactions like prey drive. Mm-hmm. And so being able to help these people and these dogs along the way has given me the push to open up my own.
That's awesome.
Because I know that a lot of these dogs get turned away by other rescues. And so I said, I'm going to be that person that takes on these dogs, knowing that they have the potential and having the skills to be able to turn them around and get them their perfect match.
That's awesome. And I'm assuming that must be very fulfilling, it's one thing to train a dog, but to know that you're saving a dog, that's a whole other feeling. And, I'm sure you're the same. I've had clients where, we were on our last leg and our dog was about to be rehomed or sent to the shelter or whatever. And, thanks to your training, now we're able to live a full life with him and he's not a nuisance anymore. And, we can handle him. And, I would imagine that rescuing a dog and saving them that way is kind of that, on steroids, right?
Exactly. Exactly. I had a couple experiences with these dogs who had a terrible history of, whether they have bite history. I recently got a dog who killed another dog.
Wow.
And she was on the path to euthanasia. Yeah. And she got forfeited to one of my partnered rescues. And they said, like, you're our only option. You're our only hope. And watching
No pressure.
Yeah, literally, I feel the pressure. But watching them throughout a couple month-long period, work with me, get everything they need, and find the perfect match, and watching them go home and getting that text afterwards that they're succeeding so well, they have made themselves at home, and they're right in with our family. It's like, it warms my heart so much.
Makes it all worth it.
Oh my God, it makes it all worth it. Like, I love it. I love it. I love it so much.
I have to say, that's one of my favorite parts of training in general is, you start off working with this thing that doesn't speak English, doesn't know what you want from it. And to kind of see them start to have that aha moment where maybe they start offering the behavior voluntarily and you're like, okay, that's rewarding to go from that hour where at the beginning the dog didn't know anything that you want. And towards the end, they're like, okay, I'm starting to get it. I like seeing that. I think that's one of the only kind of instant gratification parts of training. Yeah. Because in general, it's really not an instant gratification thing. And a lot of people want it to be, and it's not. But no, that's awesome. That's
a beautiful
really great
thing.
And do you run the rescue from your home, or how do you? Wow.
Yes.
Okay, that's
my poor husband.
I can imagine the exhaustion and the cleaning and just everything that would go into that.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Right now, I have 7 dogs at my house.
Okay.
But
plus, you also do board and trains.
Yeah, I am. So I've actually rebranded my company.
Okay.
We are called Balance Paw.
Gotcha.
And I have a new partner who has come on and joined me. She has been, I call her my prodigy.
Nice.
She's my little apprentice. She's been working with me for the last 4 years, ever since she got her own German Shepherd.
Awesome.
She opened up a facility in her house, but I'm so excited about it, up north. So she's in Meaford.
Okay.
So the thing is, I'm actually from Blue Mountain, Collingwood area.
Gotcha.
And then
I'm living in Barrie, so I feel you.
So you know us. And so then I moved to Richmond Hill a few years ago, and it's like I have a client base there and a client base here, and it's hard to work around going downtown, going 2-3 hours up north, and then being in Richmond Hill and working it all together. So now that I have her being able to take my up north clients and provide, I would like to help people in all areas.
For sure.
So now that she's helping me out, I'm giving her some of my board and trains, and I'm focusing more leaning on my rescue.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And congratulations on your business expanding. That's
Thank you.
Always exciting. I've recently, same thing, I've kind of brought on a few more trainers, and it's nice to be able to help and service areas that maybe I wouldn't have been able to get to just based on my schedule or my commute or lifestyle or whatever. But one of my trainers is more in like East York. So, they're able to go to Oshawa or Peter. I used to go there as well. But, as I'm doing this longer, I'm, driving all day. I'm sure you know what it's like. It's like, okay, I'm going to want to limit, my commute a little bit. And my other trainer, Carly, she's up in Brecken. So she's able to service kind of the other side of like the lake of Kawartha Lakes, right? So it's nice to be able to help people that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to help through Pet to Pal, whether it's me specifically or one of my trainers. But that's really exciting that your business is growing. Congratulations.
How do you find that putting the trust of your company into someone else's hands? How does that feel for you?
It's tough. It took a long time for me to be willing to do that, right? Because you build this brand, you build this reputation, you build this company, and and I'm not saying they don't care. Obviously they do. They're very knowledgeable, very passionate. I wouldn't have brought them on if I didn't trust them. Exactly. And I think nobody's ever going to care about your baby the way you care about it. And that's something I think you have to somewhat accept in business, is that if you never trust anyone, your business can never grow, right? Especially doing what we do, right? Being a service business, you know, there's only so many 1 hours a week that you can
Exactly.
go to people's houses, right? Like I was maxed out. I was, especially during COVID when we were at the height of people getting dogs, I was doing 11 lessons a day sometimes, you know, and I'm like, I just physically cannot go to anyone else's house. You know what I mean? So if I want this to grow, I need to bring on other people. And so again, it was bred from necessity, but it is tough because you're risking your brand, your reputation on possibly a bad review or a client that's, you know, unhappy or unsatisfied, right? So there is that risk there, of course, but you know, it's no risk, no reward. Again, in order to grow, I think you do need to trust someone at some point.
I think I have like a mental illness. I've always had it in me that if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself.
I'm the same
And
way.
this has been a huge thing for me to like push past that. And the fact that she's been working with me for like 3 years, she has been a long time good friend of mine. She's amazing in the horse industry.
That's
I was
awesome.
like, this I can do. And now that it's been working for numerous months, I'm like, you know what? I think this is working. And now I'm starting to trust other people more.
Especially after 3 or 4
I'm starting to play
years.
with the idea.
Yeah. And it's a feeling out process. You know, not everyone is going to be a right fit. And you don't know that until you kind of work with them a little bit and talk to them and, you know, kind of feel it out, right? Speaking of burnout, how do you avoid burnout? Given you got the rescue, you got, you know, your business expanding, you got private lessons. I know you do. We can talk. You got your horse stuff as well, which we can get into. But how do you avoid burnout?
It's a hard balance. It's a really hard balance. And I would say I probably do burn out a lot. But how I avoid it is I travel a lot.
Okay.
And so that's kind of my lifestyle. That's the reason why I've gotten this new employee that I've added on to my company. We travel to Europe.
Nice.
We go to St. Martin every winter
Cool.
for numerous months. And on those trips, I'm still working.
Sure.
But at a pace where I'm still at the beach going for a swim in the morning.
Nice,
you know? I find
that's work-life balance right there.
My time here in Canada, here in my home country, it is like a nonstop. The only way that I can escape from it is by simply leaving because I don't have enough self-control myself. And it's funny that we teach dogs self-control all day long, and yet I just have no self-control. Another client comes, I want to. My issue is I get this situation all the time where someone comes and says, I'm having this issue with my dog. And if you don't take it, it's going to get euthanized. It's going to be forfeited to a shelter. This is going to happen. And I give them like the brutal truth that unfortunately your dog has bite history. Your dog killed another dog. This happened. And this situation isn't going to be good if you forfeit them. And they're like, well, you're my only option. And so I burn out. I take them. Yeah. So.
And you know what? And I will say that's tough. And I know a lot of people, you know, and this is not to like, you know, go at any clients or anything, but I think people do, we experience it. I'm sure vets experience it. People do kind of use that guilt a little bit as a weapon. Like, well, if you really cared about dogs, you would just help. Or like, you know, a vet, like, you know, well, if you're just in it for the money and like, you know, it is obviously, I'm again generalizing and I don't mean to speak for everyone, but I'm assuming most people that get into the industry we're into get into it because they love dogs and they want to help. At the same time, we are running a business. We are trying to support ourselves and, you know, our business and pay our employees and things like that. And I think a lot of people do kind of use that like, well, you know, if you really care, you'll take them. And, you know, it's hard because you don't want to say no. You don't want to turn down someone who you do think you can help them. But yeah, trying to put yourself first sometimes, as much as that might sound selfish, it's necessary, right? If you don't fill your own cup, you can't help anyone else. And I think that kind of goes, you know, obviously we're talking about burnout, but that kind of goes into like one of my questions, which is what role do you think energy plays in training, whether it's your energy, the owner handler's energy, or even the dog's energy itself? What kind of role do you think energy plays when you're training?
It is all of it. Energy is everything. Energy is everything. I just had a session this morning and I was telling them your energy, like you want your dog to walk and heel. You want your dog to stay on place. You want your dog not to bark at that squirrel, dog, cat, whatever it is. Your energy, the dogs are going to match your energy. So whatever you're exuding, they are going to mirror that. Your energy is the most important puzzle piece, I think, to training. Even I have to check myself, you know, when I am on my how many session of the day, it's been hot, I'm tired, I haven't had dinner yet, and, you know, my energy can shift. And it's incredible the difference that you notice in the dog. And if you just take a deep breath, walk away, take a second, come back, and you're talking in a calm state of mind.
Yeah.
My training sessions look more like meditation sessions.
Love it.
It's a beautiful thing, the difference that it makes.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point, because I know I have, for me, I'm not saying it's healthy or good, but my coping mechanism in my life has been overworking, right? Like, I'm like, okay, if I'm going to be sad or whatever, rather than sit in bed, I'm going to go make money. I'm going to go do something. I'm going to be productive. I'm going to distract my mind. I'm going to do whatever.
Yeah.
Where I think that can be tough is like, I've gone through tough times, as I'm sure everyone has. But whether I'm going through a depression or not, when I get there to train that puppy, I can't be like, sit, okay, whatever. You got to put on your puppy voice. Because again, dogs, and again, maybe some people just assume they do, but your dog does not speak English. I want to remind everyone that your dog doesn't just know what no means or what yes means or sit or whatever. You have to condition those things, and your energy matters, right? You can say anything, but if you say it in a high pitch, your dog will think it's a good thing. If you it's going to be a bad thing. So your energy really matters.
Yeah.
It could be something as simple as, you know your dog is reactive, and maybe you see another dog approaching and already you're thinking, oh no, here it comes. And so you start tightening up your leash, and then your dog is looking at you for information going, okay, well, this is stressing mom out or dad out, so maybe it's supposed to stress me out too, right? So yeah, I think your energy as an owner, as a handler, as a trainer is a crucial part, piece of the puzzle there. And then the dog's energy too. Like, I hear a lot of people saying things like, my dog is crazy on our walks and pulls and barks and whatever. And there's kind of the, not misconception, but the thing of like, well, I'm taking my dog on the walk to burn energy, right? But if you're bringing your dog out there at 100% battery charged, of course they're looking for a way to let it out, and they're going to pull and bark and jump and whatever, right? So maybe doing a little bit of training or play or whatever before your walk, getting them out there on 70% battery or energy, and you're going to notice that makes, a difference. Or, if you only give your dog one walk a day, again, some breeds are fine with that, but for the average dog, 2 to 3 walks a day, like, you'd be surprised at what just increasing the amount of walks you do, or the amount of engagement, playtime, training that you do, how that's going to bring their energy down. They're going to have a calmer dog, a dog that is, well-mannered, right? Because they're not looking for a way to let that energy out in unproductive, unwanted ways, right? So yeah, I think the energy is a big factor that people don't always consider. They think it's just commands, right? But the commands is a part of it, but the energy plays a big role.
Yeah. Same way, even like in the house, you can't expect your dog to be a good dog when they're full of this energy.
Totally.
You have to give them an opportunity to exude all of it.
Yeah, they need an outlet, right? I usually use the example with my clients, like, think of when kids are on indoor recess. Yeah. Of course they're bouncing off the walls and they're screaming, they haven't had that outlet, right? So you can't expect your dog to not get enough walks. You don't want to play with them. You don't have time for training, but you want them to just lay there like a bump on a log all day. Like, that's not going to happen, right? Unless you have maybe like, I don't know, some English bulldog or whatever that just wants to be a couch potato. That's fine. Again, there are breeds that can do it, but for the average dog, they need those outlets. And it's almost unfair to expect them to be this perfect dog if you're not fulfilling their needs, right?
Yeah. It's funny, on days of bad weather, like, all spring, we live in Canada.
Sure.
It's pouring rain outside, and everyone messages me and they're like, how are you out there in the pouring rain? Oh, my dog hates walking in the rain. Oh, I would never go out on a rainy day like that. If I don't give my dogs the exercise and the, source of exution of their energy, like, my dogs are going wild in my house.
They're going to let it out some way.
If you have more than one dog in the house, like if you have 4, 5, 6 dogs, however much it is, they're going to be wrestling each other and going crazy. And it's just so much more difficult to not exercise them and deal with the consequences than it is to just go for the walk in the rain.
Totally. And I think there's that quote. It's like, having a well-trained dog is hard, right? Training them to that point. But having an untrained dog is just as hard, right? You get to pick which hard you want. Yeah. Right? So
it's the same as working out. I hear that connection all the time.
Totally. Yeah. And, getting creative. I mean, right now there's a big push for like enrichment exercises. And again, those are good. Those have a role, in my opinion. Rainy day activities or, just a little stimulation here and there. Nothing wrong with it. I wouldn't rely on that as a crutch. Like, you might have to get creative. I know, like, I've posted a video about this, but when the weather's bad, my parents kind of live near a GO station. That GO station's empty after 6 p.m. when everyone's done work. So I'll go down there at, 8, 9 p.m. when it's empty. If it's snowing, if it's raining, it's covered. We can walk, we can train, we can play ball on the 6th floor. It's totally empty. So again, I know, I'm going to get leash law people that are yelling at me, but I'm just saying, like, be creative, right? There are ways to get your dog out, or just burn their energy in a good way and fulfill their needs, whether good weather or bad weather, right? Because you're right, we do live in Canada. If we don't go out when we have bad weather, okay, well, that's November to April, and then April the rain starts, and then summer it's 35 degrees. So it's like, if you wait for bad weather, you're not going to be doing anything, right? So get out there and, find a way to give your dog what they need.
I'm glad you mentioned the mental enrichment, because you know what? It surprises me the amount of my clients that don't even know what it is. Topples, lick mats, Kongs, chews. You can go even more, spreading the kibble out in the grass, letting them sniff for it.
Some scatter feeding.
All of this stuff. People don't even know that it's a thing. I told them.
It's true. You know what? I think it's a newer, I think the last, I don't know how long, the last couple years, 5-10 years, maybe, it's kind of like having this push. And it's funny because I think you're right. It is kind of on polar ends where some people don't know anything about it. And I think there is a lot of people that also rely on it as a crutch.
Some people can be obsessive over it.
Yeah. And it's good, but let's not confuse enrichment with training, right? Because those are two different things. Nothing wrong with giving your dog something that they're going to enjoy, burn some energy. It's like, the way I kind of describe it is like, you give your kid iPad time, right? Yeah, I'll give my dog a Kong here and there. Here, keep yourself busy for half an hour. But you don't need that all day long every day, right? You got to have other things, right?
People can be, same as the iPad, a little obsessive. It always made me laugh. There was this trend on Instagram or TikTok, and it was like, putting your dog in the car and taking them for a drive with the window down is just as good as going for a walk. And I'm
not quite. As a trainer, I saw that. Oh, get a little cringe.
Spreading these lies. The poor dog that is going to be on the receiving end for that naive owner.
And that's, again, I don't mean to go at people, because again, I think most of it comes from good intentions, but I also think there is a little bit of laziness. It's sometimes like, what's the easiest, quickest, low effort way on my end that I can, burn my dog's energy? And like, okay, a Kong again helps. Go on a 10-minute drive, sure. Go on a walk, go on a hike, do some training. I know that's more effort, but it's going to be so much better for you and your dog. It's going to build your relationship. It's going to tire them out. They're going to learn something. They're not learning anything on a 10-minute drive. Get out there and do things with your dog. That's my PSA.
I get reminded quite often that you can't expect everyone to be as passionate about dogs as you are. But then why get a dog?
Yeah. And I think that's, that's something that needs to be addressed. Is I think a lot of people like the idea of having a dog, right? Maybe they had a dog when they were growing up, or like they think part of a complete family is, there is a little bit of that, like, we get engaged, we get married, we get a pup, then we have a kid. There is a little bit of that like timeline syndrome. I don't know. And, they like the idea of a dog until the dog is like a newborn baby and requires you to wake up in the middle of the night for potty training, crate training, and does need 2-3 walks a day and does need an hour a day of, training here and there. And I think that's why there's kind of been this push for like quick fixes, right? Whether it's enrichment, whether it's, some people do use board and trains as just like just you do everything and give it back when it's done.
I actually push against the board and train. And even if they're going to do the board and train, I recommend you guys do a package of hourly sessions beforehand so that I can train you and not the dog. Because no matter what, if you do the board and train and you don't follow up, and if you get lazy afterwards, it's useless. It's a waste of money.
100%. And I try to do the same thing. And, I try to tell people, like, listen, respectfully, I know I can get the dog to stay or loose leash walk, but unless you're going to be able to replicate that, what I can do is irrelevant. You know what I mean? Like, I need to get you to be able to do that, and you have to want to do that, right? If you don't want to, walk your dog or play with them or train them, or, those are the fun parts of having a dog. You know what I mean? Like, I know you want this, furry little love thing in your house you can cuddle, and that's great too. Don't get me wrong. I cuddle my dog. Nothing. My dog sleeps in my bed at this point, right? But that's because she spent the first year in a crate in another room learning how to self-soothe and decompress. And once she's trustworthy, now she's earned these, extra privileges and freedoms. And now I get to enjoy having a dog because I put that work in early. And now I get to play ball with her off leash, or I get to, whatever, because she's trustworthy, right? But I think a lot of people kind of like the idea of like what a dog is, this like loving, furry, cute thing.
A teddy bear.
Without wanting to put in like what a dog needs. And I will say as well, because since we're on the topic, I hear a lot of like, I have a small dog. I don't need to walk it. I have a backyard. A small dog is a dog. It's a small dog. It requires what a big dog requires, just a less amount.
I was going to literally, you just took the words out of my mouth. I was thinking of this in my brain. I was like, this is what I have to mention next, because I have heard so many times now that, oh, it's a small dog. It has little legs. It walks around the house and that's its exercise. And I'm like, this is a terrier. This is a chihuahua. This thing is bred as a working breed.
Yeah, it's a hunter. It's meant to like be in the field chasing foxes and, you know, whatever. And I do think there is like, you know, we can kind of get into that. And it wasn't going to be something I was going to talk about, but small dog privilege. Right? Where I think a lot of people think because my dog is small, oh, if it's being bad, I can just pick it up. I can just like, you know, or if the dog does bite, you know, it doesn't do as much damage. So whereas a big dog, maybe a German Shepherd, they get one bite. That's it. They're on their last strike now, you know? Yeah. A small dog gets 3, 4, 5 goes at it before they're like, okay, this is a problem, you know? Yeah. So I would love to more public education to be aware and, you know, kind of curb this small dog privilege because again, a small dog is a dog and they require what a big dog requires, maybe just on a lesser amount, but they require the same stuff.
And with the requirements, it's also respect. A lot of people respect a large dog and they won't reach for their face and try to pick them up and make them uncomfortable. Yes. But with little dogs, even if they're uncomfortable and they don't want to be picked up, people just go and scoop them up.
Yeah, there's that expectation, or I don't know if it's entitlement, but like they want it to be a teddy bear. Right. And some dogs just aren't. Just because your dog's small does not mean they're going to like being cuddled, does not mean they're going to like being picked up, does not mean they're going to like being in your purse. You know, so some dogs do, but not every dog does. And you got to know your dog or train them to like that stuff that you want them to like. Right. But that's where the training aspect kind of comes back around to it. Right. Yeah. What's the one thing that you preach to all your clients? What's like one kind of foundational or like fundamental thing that you think is important for every dog, every situation to kind of work on?
God, how do you pick just one?
I know there's a lot. I know that's kind of a loaded question a little bit, but
number one thing is start immediately. Start immediately with everything. And dog training isn't just, you know, an hour there, an hour there. It is incorporated in your life.
Yes, lifestyle.
You're always training. You're shaping your dog's expectations and rules of the house. Start the moment you take your dog home. Start that structure.
Completely agree. I'm sure you get it a lot. I get the question a lot. Hey, we're picking up our dog at 8 weeks old. When's the best time to start? Right? And I always try to say, your dog is learning the second they get to your house. They're learning what rooms are allowed in. Where can they go? Where do they pee? What do they, you know, what do you want from them? So even if you don't think you've started training, you've started the second you meet your dog, really. They're learning what they can get away with, what they can't, right? It's not, to your point, it's not just a 1 hour formal session when the trainer comes over and that's when we're training. Training is every interaction with your dog. Yeah. Okay? It's how you go about what you allow, what you don't allow. Obviously, you know, active training. And I think that was actually going to be one of my next questions. So we'll kind of get to that because that's a good transition. I think a lot of people think of training as obedience and flashy stuff. You know, there's the Instagram, you can kind of like
the heel,
the focused healing. That's all great. Don't get me wrong. If you want to do that with your dog, power to you. Have high expectations, high standards. I love it. With that being said, lifestyle training, right? Passive training versus active training. Can you speak a little bit on kind of the difference versus passive versus active training and the benefit of both?
Yeah, absolutely. Passive training is your day-to-day life. This is, for example, you get a new puppy and you bring them on the couch for some cuddles, right? But that puppy starts getting a little bit mouthy, starts getting rude. Now it wants full playtime. Yep. What do? You kick your dog off the couch. Yep. That is passive training.
Exactly.
Right? Active training is when you're like, okay, I've got a treat pouch on me and I've got my clicker with me and I am ready to teach this dog how to sit down, stay calm, and do that structured training. Passive training is absolutely necessary to implement into your daily life all the time.
Totally. Just like even having your dog stay in their place while you cook dinner, or, you know, things like that you think, oh, well, I'm just cooking dinner, but that is training, right? A lot of people don't think of that as training. And I think that's part of the problem because a lot of, you know, everyone's good at riling their dog up, right? But nobody's good at calming them down when they need to, right? And I have to try to tell people sometimes, like, your dog being calm, that's not something they're inherently born with. That's a learned behavior, right? You have to teach them to settle on command or have a place cue or, you know, whatever, however you want to go about that, right? But I try to tell them, you know, think of like you're boiling water and the pot is bubbling, bubbling, bubbling. We don't want it to overflow, right? You have to be the conductor of the orchestra. You got to be able to bring it up and bring it down. So I try to tell people, make a point, you know, play with your dog, get them excited. And as it's building, put them in their place, put them in a down, let them completely settle. Let that water become still again. Okay, then you could put it back on the burner, let it bubble, 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 and then bring it back down, settle again, right? That way, when you're in a situation where you do actually need them to calm down, they're like, hey, I've done this. I know this game. Me and dad, me and mom have practiced this before, right? So yeah, I think a lot of people don't think of teaching their dog calmness as training, but for me, I think that's one of the biggest, like teaching neutrality, right? Getting your dog out and about and just sitting at the park and letting them just see the world go by and having them not react and learn that, hey, all these things that I thought were overstimulating and exciting and required my reaction, actually, they don't really matter that much. I can just chill and focus on my people. And, you know, this isn't something I really need to react to.
Everyone wants that perfect patio pup.
Yep.
But they don't put in the calm, structured patience of just being a fly on the wall.
Totally.
Right? They go out and everyone's like, can I pet your puppy? Yeah, sure. Meet my puppy. Oh, your puppy's so cute. Can my dog say hi? Yeah, absolutely. He's friendly. And all you're doing is creating that overstimulation, overexcitement, and that overarousal and association to those things.
Yeah, because your dog is associating that every time I see a dog or person, I'm going to go say hi, and this is going to be an exciting experience. And then there's that like expectation that when they see a dog, a person, a kid, whatever, that I need to go up there. And you have a dog that is pulling and needs to go up and say hi to everyone, right?
Yeah.
So with that being said, what do you think the role of socialization is, whether for a puppy or just a dog in general? Because obviously I think most people think of socialization as, and I almost wish they would change that word, of being social, of making a bunch of dog friends and saying hi to everyone and strangers giving them treats. And, you know, what do you think the role of socialization is in training our dogs?
I'm going to use the same term, being a fly on the wall. Just letting your dog sit and be on the outside of the excitement. You know, socialization is being able to keep your cool, keep that neutral excitement level, and just be around other dogs and people. So the best way that you can socialize your dog is by going to a dog park, but don't go inside.
Yep.
Sit outside the dog park and let them watch the chaos, smell, hear, and, you know, watch them run around and play and just be calm. And this is the best way you can socialize your dog. Or with humans, take them outside a busy Costco and bring a place bed and just sit there. And when people come up and say, oh, can I pet your puppy? No, thank you. He's in training. That's a tough one.
That is a tough one because people don't want to be confrontational and they don't want to seem rude. But you also have to advocate for your dog, right? If you don't want that to undermine the training, like if you're trying to teach your dog to be calm, but you have all these strangers at the store that want to pet them and excite them, well, okay, you got to pick your poison. Do you want to be the quote unquote rude person who says, no, sorry, you can't pet my dog right now? Or do you want to have a well-trained dog? You know, like what's more important to you in that moment? Right? I found a lot too is if you allow other people, if you kind of incorporate them into the training, they're a lot of times happy to do that.
This
right?
is
Like,
true.
hey, my dog's in training. Like, you know, maybe if my dog stays in a nice down while you approach, you can kind of toss them a treat from over there. But I'd appreciate if you didn't pet them, but you can tell them good boy and toss them a treat as you walk by or something, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are happy to participate in some way, and then they feel good about themselves. So like, oh, I helped out today and whatever. So I think that's kind of a good medium, a good middle ground.
Yeah.
But yeah, socialization, fly on the wall, all great terms of just you know, socialization is more about just desensitizing your dog to the world, to the environment, right? New sights, new sounds, new smells. And I know, like, you know, this is something that I know some trainers talk about, like the rule of 12. And, you know, when our dogs are going through their fear periods and their fear imprint modes, you know, that first fear period is crucial for getting your dog out and new surfaces, grass, concrete, gravel, wood chips, you know, concrete, whatever, just new surfaces, new sounds, new textures, new, you know, you want by the second fear period that your dog's like, hey, I've seen that before. I've done that. I've heard that. That's no big deal, right? You don't want a dog that's like, oh my God, what is that? Oh my God, what's that? Oh my God, right? Because then you have a very fearful, nervous dog. And, you know, I try to tell people, you know, one of the things I try to prioritize is that confidence building, that exposure, because again, not in a cocky way, I'm sure you're the same way. You can go to a 6-year-old dog and teach him sit in 5 minutes. That's not hard. What is hard is going to a 6-year-old dog that's learned to be nervous and fearful and now trying to build confidence, right? So the obedience will come. Obedience is important. It's good. It's helpful. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't do obedience, but at first I would prioritize exposure and confidence building and desensitization, maybe more so than the obedience.
There's this famous quote. I've got to find out who came up with it because I say it to every single one of my clients. Be proactive instead of reactive.
Love it.
Start the training early, start the socialization, get your dog out there, and this is going to set your dog up for a lifetime of success. Trust me, your whole life will be easier if you just use that small
Don't
period
wait
of
for
time.
problems to start, right? Get ahead of them, right? And even like all these COVID dogs, right? Because they didn't get exposure. They were everyone was working from home, so they never got alone time. They never learned how to self-soothe. They never had guests over. Now everything makes them anxious.
Yeah.
Right. And again, some of that is, not fault of our owners. It was just, the climate that we were in. But at the same time, our dog doesn't know there's a pandemic. Your dog is in their developmental period now. That we can't change that.
Room, put them in a crate. There's ways that you can do it, but people just don't know.
Totally. And so what do you think the role of confidence building, but in general, like working our dog through stress? What's the role of stress when it comes to training our dogs?
Growth is hard. A lot of people, this can be a little confrontational with positive only dog trainers, pushing them through pressure to do things that they're uncomfortable with, but it's a necessary thing that you need to do. Yeah. And you can start with it in like small obstacles that you can do, even just going to a park and having them climb on the equipment that they have there.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
At first, it's a weird texture, like you said, and the dogs don't want to go up those funny stairs. And if you just apply a small bit of pressure, eventually, the moment they take even just one step towards it, give them what they want. Slacken the leash.
Yeah.
And this is how you can use pressure. Eventually, you'll coerce them up there, and then they'll realize, oh my God, I get so many treats up here. Oh, this is fun. Oh, that wasn't even that scary. And then they can go up and down and up and down. And all of a sudden, you have put them one step closer to being a confident dog.
Yes.
If they can get over small humps like that, they're going to be able to achieve other scary things that will come in their life.
Yeah, I think it's super important for building a resilient dog that is able to work through stress without shutting down, without, getting in fight or flight mode where they need to run home or have, you pick them up if they're a small dog. And I think that's something that the average person really struggles with is working our dog through stress. I think the human instinct is we see our kid, our dog, whatever, we have that parental kind of nature where we see them stressed and uncomfortable and we want to remove the stress or make them comfortable, right? Oh, it's okay. Don't worry. Mommy's here. It's okay. The fireworks are not bad, and we think we're comforting them. But really what you're doing is you're reinforcing your dog's current state of mind. Whatever they're feeling in that moment that got them to receive all that praise and cuddling and whatever, they're like, oh, when I feel this, I get that. Yeah. Right. So the best thing you can do is let your dog work through it. And I think that's also kind of goes towards like crate training. Yeah. A lot of people are against the crate and, it's not enough to just use the crate. And this might, make some people upset. Crate training, using the crate is not enough. The dog has to be not in your bedroom, not with you sleeping on the couch next to them at first. One of the points of the crate training is for separation anxiety. It's to teach your dog how to self-soothe, how to decompress on their own. Yeah. If they only learn how to soothe themselves when you're right next to them, then we have a dog that freaks out when you leave the house and, freaks out in other situations. So your dog has to, let's kind of like what I said with Xena earlier, where my dog, she spent the first year in a crate in the other room. Now she knows how to calm herself down. So whether I'm home or not, it doesn't matter. Now she gets to sleep in my bed if she wants, or she gets to, whatever, because she has that base. She has that skill already installed, right? It's a lot harder to install that later on once your dogs learn to be codependent on you as their owner, right? And again, I know it's tough when they're crate training and they're crying and they're tugging on their heartstrings and it sounds like they're being tortured and it's tough, but push through it. That's, on the other side of stress is confidence. So, I try to tell that to people and I know that's a tough one. And you're right. I think a little bit of that is like the positive only kind of, attitude that being uncomfortable, stressed, discomfort is never beneficial. Right. And I don't subscribe to that. I don't believe in that. Again, we're not trying to traumatize our dogs, obviously, but letting them work through a minimal amount of stress. Like, again, it could just be them learning to go up and down the stairs. It doesn't have to be some crazy situation where we're, traumatizing them. But I think, having your dog work through stress is crucial. It really is.
And it's part of that beautiful balance that we call balanced dog training is, okay, fine. Sometimes probably the first couple days of crate training is going to be hard. You're going to listen to the whining. They're going to scratch at the crate and it'll take a long time for them to self-soothe. But you're balancing it out by before you even do that, play the in and out game.
Yeah.
Just throw treats out there. Like, grow their confidence going in and out and listening to the sound of the crate and having the door shut behind them. And whenever you can finally achieve that, then you're ready to do that. If you balance it out by creating that positive association before you stick them in the crate, then you're setting them up for success.
Yeah, totally.
It's totally necessary.
100%. And I think that's a good point too, is a lot of people kind of want to start at their end goal, right? Whatever the behavior is. Oh, my dog's reactive. My dog jumps or barks or whatever. And, you know, people sometimes don't like when, you know, oh, my dog pulls on walks and is reactive. And I say, okay, well, the first session, we're just going to work inside. And they're like, okay, but my problems are out there. And I'm like, actually, you think that, but your problems are in here. You know, like your dog doesn't have engagement. Your dog doesn't have impulse control. Your dog doesn't know heel or focus or whatever, right? So before we can address your end goal, we got to break it down, right? Like you're saying with the crate where, at first just let your dog hear the crate opening and closing. Let them just go in, feel what the plastic tray is like on their paws. Let them go in and out. Maybe just close it for 5 seconds. Let them come right out. You're building trust that going in means coming out, right? Maybe then you have them go in for 30 seconds, go to the bathroom, come back, right? So breaking that goal down now, again, that is effort, that is time, that is more time consuming, but that's going to set your dog up for that success. It's going to make the process so much easier on them, right? So I know, again, there is like kind of that 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but dog training is a lot of breaking things down and then building them up, as opposed to just starting at the end goal wherever you want to start.
And the initial conditioning. You need to condition the dog to those marking words and condition the dog to everything before you take them out and add distractions. Why add difficulty if you can't even do the bare minimum, which is just look at us and get a treat when we say yes.
Exactly. Right? You don't practice swimming in the deep end on your first lesson, right? You learn in the shallow end and then you level up, right? Yeah. And I think that's a good point. And I think the average person either doesn't really know about markers, or just in general, their markers are unconditioned. I think that is one of the biggest problems people have, and they don't even realize it, is their no means nothing. It has no consequence or action attached to it. And their yes also means nothing. So why would the dog want to do what you're asking, right? You haven't conditioned reward and you haven't conditioned consequence. So there's no incentive or motivation for the dog to do what you're asking it to do.
Yeah. I've been training a lot of little puppies lately. In this last summer, everyone's got a puppy this year. And what do puppies do? They eat everything off the ground, whether it's rocks or mulch or whatever it is. And so they're like, how do I get them to stop? And I said, well, there's only so much you can do with, you know, correction with the pop on the collar or redirecting them onto a treat or whatever it is. But I said, you're skipping the initial conditioning part. It's so simple to just go, leave it. They look at you, yes, and they give you a treat. Leave it, treat, leave it, treat, leave it, treat. And then what happens is when your dog picks something up that they're not supposed to have, you go, leave it. They're going to drop whatever it is because you have something of higher value that they're conditioned to come to you for.
Yeah, there's been reinforcement history there, right? There's been muscle memory of them doing this job successfully and it paying off for them. And I think, for, you know, any command, any word, anything you're trying to teach, if your verbal hasn't been paired with physical, with action, then your verbal has, you know, you haven't made any deposits in the account, but you're trying to make withdrawals.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
And I think that's a big one. So to that point, I know you mentioned obviously puzzle and you're a balanced trainer. What do you think the role of aversives or that kind of stuff is in training?
It's a sensitive subject.
It is.
I feel this is going online, right? You know what? It's really simple. No means no. And if you can do all of the positive reinforcement that you can do, but eventually your dog is going to do something that they should absolutely not be doing. And if you don't have a way to follow through on what you say, then it just means nothing. So you need to be able to have a source of reinforcement. And I'm not saying you're bullying the dog, abusing the dog. We never hit a dog. We've never done anything like that. That is not what that is. No. But a simple little pop on the collar is a beautiful thing. And it is simply communicating with them in their own language.
I was going to say, that's how their moms, pick them up by the scruff. That's how they correct each other.
Or a pack of wolves, or like, you know, I told you I had 7 dogs at my house. It's a beautiful thing to watch them cohabitate.
I think a lot of people have never watched pack dynamics. I think that's a big part of it as well, because they don't, know body language, or they don't see how dogs interact with each other. And what looks like, oh my God, they're killing each other. It's actually just, hey, that dog set a boundary.
Yeah.
You cut it out. I don't want to do that. The other dog's like, oh, okay, I get it. And then they adjust, right?
Yeah.
But no, I think you're right. And I think there is, balance training doesn't have to be heavy-handed, right? In my opinion, any good balance trainer, like I probably use 85, 90% positive reinforcement.
Right.
But reinforcement is how we encourage a behavior. It's how we build a behavior. It's not how we stop unwanted behaviors.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
just, reinforcement is the gas in the car, the gas you pour on the fire.
Yeah.
And then, corrections, those are your brakes.
Yeah.
Right. In my opinion, if you're going to drive your car properly, you need gas and you need brakes.
Yeah.
Right. And to your point, yeah, we don't have to do it for everything, but there are situations that are potentially life or death, right? Your dog running in the road. I'd much rather my dog learn not to go in the road from a leash correction or an e-collar or whatever better than getting hit by a car.
Right.
If your dog picks something up and swallows something, now you need surgery. Now you need their stomach pump. Now, that's $10,000. Maybe you don't have pet insurance. I'd much rather my dog learn not to pick things up through their leash or collar, right? So, it's kind of like you tell your kids, like, don't touch the stove, it's hot. And you touch it once or twice, like, oh, okay, that sucks. I don't really want to do that again, right? You're not hurting them, but it's like, okay, you want to learn it the hard way, learn it the hard way. That's fine. But it's the lesser of two evils, right? It's a controlled way to get that message across. And again, for me, I'm balanced. I practice Lima. I think, least intrusive, minimally aversive for those that don't know. It just means that we're looking for what's the minimum amount of pressure or correction that's going to discourage a dog from repeating that behavior, right? We're not trying to hurt them. We're trying to discourage a behavior, right? And I think that's important because, we want to encourage what we like and we want to discourage what we don't like. Otherwise, you're only giving them half the message, in my opinion, right? You're only kind of giving them half the picture. So timing is important, timing of reward, timing of correction for them to get that clear picture of what got corrected or what got rewarded. But I think if your timing is sharp and you're consistent, your dog is going to pick up on it pretty quickly. Like most dogs don't need 100 corrections. Like they get it a couple of times, like, okay, I get it. I'm not supposed to do that.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. I think there's only so much we can do of teaching a dog how to speak English and teaching them our verbal commands. But at a certain point, you're going to have to communicate with them in their own language, body language. And it just provides clarity for the dog. And that's why I believe in it so much.
Yeah, 100%.
You see the results. You see them understand.
And I think that's what's frustrating, I think, to a lot of balance trainers or just even people is part of the positive only push has been like, well, the results don't matter. It's about how we feel. It's about how the dogs feel. And it's like, well, okay, but if we're ignoring results, like if it works and the dog is clearly happy, like, oh, but that dog's wearing an e-collar. Yeah, but my dog gets to hike and go off leash and live their best life. Like, you can't tell me my dog's not happy. You know what I mean? But they want to kind of brand it where it's like, if you use corrections, your dog won't be happy. And who cares about the results if they're not happy? But they are happy. I'm not saying, yeah, sure, there's dogs that are more sensitive, or maybe if you use a correction or an aversive before you've built that trust, before you've taught the dog your expectations, then sure, a dog can shut down. Some dogs are more sensitive than others. But that's, I think, why dog training is not one size fits all. It's adjusting to what is best for that dog, that owner, that situation, right? Yeah, I use a prong collar or a martingale or a slip lead or an e-collar. Do I recommend that for every dog? No, of course not, because what works for one may not work for the other, may not be necessary for the other. Right. So I think, we can't just ignore results. Like your eyes, believe your eyes. Like if it's working and the dog's happy and everyone's happy, then what's the problem? You know what I mean?
Yeah. As a balanced dog trainer, I would say a huge percentage of my clientele has already been with other dog trainers. And there's been a few of them, anyways, a lot, that have come to me from another balanced dog trainer, and they have been more heavy-handed. They have been more, I would say, too assertive and probably more on the negative reinforcement side than the positive. Sure. And it has really pushed me to like lean more away to, I'm like 95% positive reinforcement. Even like, and it doesn't matter the dog. Every dog is different, but I had a 150-pound Boerboel that I'm training, and he is, from the other trainer's perspective, a dangerous, huge dog, and they put a big prong collar on him, and they're like, you need to be a dominant pack leader for this dog, and that's what they came in. when I saw this dog, I was like, this is just a scared little baby.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
this poor thing is petrified. And when I took off the prong and I just used a slip lead, and whenever, instead of correcting him every time he looked at a dog, I'm just creating that positive association, lots of treats, I realized, like, this balance is like the most beautiful thing, that every single dog is different.
Totally.
Read the dog that's in front of
Yeah.
you. Some dogs maybe do, need a few more corrections. And some dogs that you might think when you look at them, they actually are so sensitive, and you need to be really mindful of what you do, right?
Yeah. And I think that's where also, giving your dog very clear expectations, right?
Yeah.
Like some dogs, like I always try to tell people, we're going to get into corrections in our session, sure. But I generally don't, unless a situation is, more serious and like the dog needs it and it's, aggressive and dangerous, then that's different. But
for the average owner,
for the average person, I should say we're going to do corrections, sure, because we have to correct unwanted behavior. But until your dog understands what you want from them, if you're correcting them, that's not fair. They're like, okay, but what am I supposed to be doing? Like, you can tell me no, 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 but if you're not showing me what you want, then, you haven't set them up for success. And some dogs do need that confidence building, that clear structure and consistency and expectations first, and to build a relationship with them, right? Because if I just walk in, first of all, like, who the fuck is this guy? You know what I mean? Like, who are you to tell me what to do?
Yeah.
So I think once that relationship has been built, sometimes it takes 10 minutes. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 sessions, right? But once that dog is receptive to my information, then I can give them a correction without them shutting down. Like, oh, okay, that's just, he doesn't want me to do that, right?
Before you ever put your dog in a position that needs and warrants a correction, you should be in a calm environment and luring them around with treats and shaping that behavior first. And then the moment that they have a clear understanding, then you put them in a more difficult position where you might need to go, excuse me, over here. There you go. Yes, good come.
I say it's like you're walking in the mall with your kids. They're like, oh, the toy store. We're not trying to rip their arm out of the shoulder. We're going, hey, let's go. We're walking this way, right? It's a little like, just pay attention. We're going over here, right? So yeah, it doesn't have to be heavy-handed, but it's just a means of communication. And that's how dogs communicate to each other as well. Like, we can't ignore that. With that being said, what do you think is the most misused tool in training? It could be praise, it could be a clicker, it could be treats and food, it could be, an e-collar, but what do you think is a crate, whatever. What do you think is the most misused tool?
You said it, e-collar.
E-collar. Yep.
E-collar is the most. I get a lot of dogs in for training that they say is already conditioned to the e-collar, and they are working on a level 50.
That's high. That's a high
on
working
the
level.
educator e-collar, and I am regularly conditioning my dog anywhere from a 3 to an 8, depending on the dog. And when I get this client in and they are like, well, my dog just ignores it. The trainer conditioned them to a level 50. And I'm like, this poor animal. And this is when I truly believe it is a mean tool. You should not be on an everyday, regularly using them on a level 50. That is incredibly high. So and I see, when I'm training outside of a dog park, you see a dog come over to the fence and you're like, hey, whatever, Charlie, come on over. And the dog's yelping and running back. And I just think, I wish I could do more. I wish I could go over and politely, in a way, without offending them, say, that's not how you do it. I'm sorry.
If there is that urge, like, and I've gotten better about this. I'll be at a party or whatever, and somebody would be talking about, oh, my dog would. I don't mention I'm a trainer, because then you're going to get questions and people want free advice. And I'm happy to talk dogs, don't get me wrong, and I'm happy to help people. But I try not to be preachy. Like, well, actually, you should do this, and you're doing it wrong. Because it's like telling someone how to parent their kid. So unless I specifically hear someone say, like, oh, I might need a trainer, I'm like, hey, by the way, I can help you. Then, okay, fine. But yeah, sometimes I see people doing things, I'm like, not my monkey, not my circus, But you're right. I think a lot of people, and I think it kind of goes back to instant gratification, instant results. People think of it as a shortcut. Like, oh, I'm just going to put this thing on and zap, 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 and they're going to stop what they're doing and boom, trained dog.
Yeah.
Right? And yeah, some dogs, sure, maybe that'll work, but also a lot of people don't see or know the difference between a dog that is shut down and a dog that is obedient. Like, oh, look how calm he's being. Like, okay, well, that's just a fearful dog that is scared to make the wrong move, right? Because you didn't condition this tool, you just put it on and zap, 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 and now they know that the second that thing comes out, they're scared, right? With that being said, it can be a great tool if used properly, but I think there does need to be more public education on how to use it properly. And I think just even in general, maybe more like balanced certifications available? Like, I know there are some, but most certifications, most of the like well-known kind of recognized are, Karen Pryor or, Animal Behavior College or some of these like very positive only institutes. And there's nothing wrong with those. I'm ABC, DT certified. But I do think there needs to be more of an avenue for people that want to do balanced training and get some type of paperwork and learn in a very controlled way where they can learn how to use tools properly and then apply that to clients in, a better way.
I agree with you there, but also we're in 2025 and you can just search it up on YouTube.
Yep.
I know like Tom Davis.
Yeah.
I could think of so many other dog trainers out there that put out really clear and concise and long formatted YouTube videos in how to start and condition your dog in a very minute manner to the e-collar.
It's true. There is a lot of great information out there, and whatever you're looking for, you can find. Like there's a lot of free content that it will be helpful.
Ask ChatGPT.
There you go. I think our jobs are safe. Like I feel like, oh, AI is taking our jobs. Like, well, until AI trains an aggressive dog, I think we're safe, but we'll see.
I agree. Yeah.
But I think where people have trouble is they get overwhelmed, right? Because there's almost too much information. And like one trainer says, do this. And then you have, you got a compulsion trainer giving you advice and a positive only trainer giving, and like, okay, well, we don't know which one's right.
And then we don't know the one that seems
nicer and safe. Exactly. Right. And some dogs that'll work.
Yeah.
Right. Don't get me wrong. Some dogs that will work. But I think a lot of why people come to us is they just want like one opinion from someone who knows what they're doing and has an experience who can guide them. Right. Yeah. Versus like trying to nitpick, I'll take some from there and some from here and some from here. And then you got a mishmash of all these different styles and methods. And there are like clients like that too that, and again, I think it comes from good intentions, but who are kind of like trainer hoppers, right? Who go like trainer to trainer to trainer, like collecting information and knowledge. And again, wanting to know more. It's never a bad thing to want to be a better owner, to want to, handle your dog better. And that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if you go to 5 different people who preach 5 different things and you try to implement all that, you're just going to have a really confused dog.
Yep.
Right? I think it's almost like better to just like pick a lane and run with it and give it time, see if your dog's truly absorbing it, if it's working. If it's not, sure, pivot. But I think trying to like do a bunch of different methods and a bunch of different techniques is just going to give your dog that's like, I don't really know what you want here, So yeah, I think that's a big part of it as well, is deciphering good info versus bad info. Yeah. So I know you mentioned you do some work with horses as well. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that and maybe how some of the skills maybe you've learned there are applicable to working with dogs as well?
You know what? I feel like it transfers over into my training with dogs so much. And my first way is I'm an amateur horseback rider. Okay. I do show, but a couple years back, bought the most impressive horse ever.
Nice.
It was a huge investment of mine. I was so excited. I've always wanted this big warm blood, good bloodlines. His parents were in the Olympics. I'm taking this horse to show. It's a big investment of mine. And
it almost seems intimidating a little bit.
I was so out of my league. And with working with my trainers, I realized that how it felt to be the trainee in something that like, I love the animal. I'm so passionate about it, but I'm just not getting it. And there's things like, sit this way in the saddle, be lighter in the saddle, do this, be more like this. And I'm like trying and trying and trying, and I'm just not getting it. And I think sometimes as the trainer in dog training, I'm thinking, put slack in the leash, do the direction changes, read your body language, read the dog's body language. And I'm like, why are they not getting it?
Yeah.
But it was really, really a good
Put yourself
experience.
in those shoes a little bit. Yeah.
It was really good. And I think it gave me a lot of patience. And when I was then following through with training with the dogs, I completely understood how they felt. And it was a really good thing for me.
That's awesome. I'm sure there's a lot of overlap there, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And
even like things like martingales and stuff, really, I think originated from horses, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel as though same thing that we've been talking about in the dog industry right now, the different types, balanced or positive only. I have a second horse that I am now getting trained with a different type of trainer. And she is very much like a positive only horse trainer.
I didn't even realize that was a thing in horse training.
It is a thing. I didn't really
I learned something new today.
And, there's like my competitive horses working with like European French guy, tough, like, it's a working animal. It's not a pet. And then this one is more like, be kind and gentle, have clear communication, be concise, don't ever be unfair. Be super light with the pressure of the reins and everything like this, rather than, you know, sticking a harder bit on them and curling them up. And it's been really beautiful for me to see. And I think this has given me a lot of, you know, I now understand positive only dog trainers a little bit better in their mindset, because man, has this made a change for my horse.
That's awesome.
Bringing her down to do like a more positive only training style, super sensitive horse, and it has gotten her the results that she needed. And so it's really like I said, if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself. I've got this mental illness. And so seeing that there's so many different ways that you can do everything. You're never done learning. There's always, I'm learning all the time. I listen to a new podcast. I listen to another YouTube video, and I'm like, oh, you know what? That's a good idea. That could help my dog with resource guarding that I'm working through right now, or whatever it is, right? That's been amazing. Like the horses and being the trainee and listening, like being really light on the pressure of guiding my horse and waiting and just holding that really light pressure. And my horse is 18 years old.
Okay.
And she has been trained improperly for a long time. And so now putting her into training with a different type of trainer, doing different methods, I've needed to have a lot of patience with horses, and just seeing that, like, just wait. And literally I'll wait there for 5 minutes and eventually the horse will back up a little bit. But seeing that it wasn't necessary to use any more force. Don't be impatient and use more leash pressure. Instead, just be patient and wait all day. And I always have to remind myself something from dog training, that if you act like you got 5 minutes, it'll take all day. But if you act like you got all day, it'll only take 5 minutes.
That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So it's been an amazing experience being able to connect and combine my lessons from horses and use it for my dog training.
Yeah, I think it's great. It's never a bad idea to continue learning in any way, right? Any way, shape, or form. I think continued education, whether it's hands-on, working with horses, working with dogs, or some type of schooling certification, like whatever it might be, I think it's never a bad idea to continue to invest in yourself and your knowledge and, you know, kind of perfect your craft. And honestly, that's part of what this podcast is for me as well, is, you know, I want to talk to other people and hear different perspectives and, you know, see how other people do things as well, right? Because I think there is a lot of ego in the training world where it's like, my way only, or this is the only way to do it, or, you know, whatever. And I'm not saying those ways are wrong or right. I know I've been successful in my training, and that's not to say every client I've ever worked with has been happy, or, you know, they got some be like, you know what, I could have did a little better with that. Or, you know, looking back, you know, what I know now, I think I could have helped that dog a little bit more. And I think that just shows growth. I think that's important. I think if you're looking back and not feeling that stuff, it means you probably plateaued and, you know, you haven't been growing.
There's nothing worse than being too set in your ways.
Yes.
You need to have an open mind. And it's really beautiful to see things that you can learn from other people.
And that's exactly it, right? It's like, I know I'm a good trainer. I don't pretend to be the best trainer in the world. I want to continue learning. I want to continue to see new ways of doing things and see if there's things I can sharpen up and I can improve, because I know there are, right? And so I never want to get to that point where I feel like, well, my way is just the way and that's it, right? Because then I think like you've hit a ceiling, right? I always want there to be room for improvement, right? So
there's this slogan that I love. And the first time I heard it, I was like, oh my God, like for some reason I think about it all the time, is dog training is art.
Ooh.
And it is art. And there's so many different artists out there, and it is beautiful in so many different ways. And the result is different all the time.
Totally.
But it's really like, you need to have an open mind. You need to be more freeing about it. And it's really amazing the things that you can create whenever you.
It's true. Even if you just look at the different types, you know, maybe you're training sport dogs, or, you know, you're
police
doing
canines.
Police canine, PSA,
service dogs,
agility, you know, maybe your dog's running commercials, or like, you know, there's so many different avenues and places you can kind of go with it. And the skill set that's required for one of those may be the opposite that's required for something else, right? And the totally different, you know, way of going about it, right? So you're right. I think if dog training is an art, there are a bunch of different types of artists and different ways to kind of go about, you know, getting to that same destination, right? Yeah,
well-mannered pet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, before we wrap up, why don't you give everyone, you know, kind of tag your Instagrams or where people can find you. So if you want to kind of shout out your.
I would love to. Absolutely.
Go for it.
So my Instagram for dog training is Hopeverra _dog training. Super simple. we have recently rebranded, and it's called Balance Paw Dog Training. You can also check out our rescue. It's called Hope's Haven, and you can check out all of our available puppies. We specialize in bringing puppies from St. Martin in the Caribbean, and we also help numerous dogs from within Canada. If you guys are interested in adopting, reach out to us. If you're interested in training, reach out to us. I would love to help you guys, and thank you so much for watching.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. It was great to meet you, and I'd love to have you on again soon if you'd like to come by again.
It was a pleasure being here. Thanks for having me.
Have a great day. Thank you, everyone, for watching the Pet to Pal podcast.